Not sure why everybody started the meeting with their cameras off, but they did. So if you normally have your camera on, you may have to turn it on.
There's all those smiling faces I'm used to.
Had to figure that out.
Mayor, right now I see 6 council members. We'll give, it looks like Aaron and David a couple minutes.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I know, both had intended to be on the call this evening. So if we could give them just a moment, and then I'll call the meeting to order.
Great.
Good evening, Jack.
Good afternoon, Mayor. I'm here with Andrew. Good to see you. Good to see you, members of City Council. Thank you, sir.
Is there?
There's David.
I see it. iPad 2. Aaron, is that you?
I'm here.
Okay. You'll have to turn your, for some reason, it defaulted the cameras off. There you go. All right. Mayor, now you've got everybody, and you're live and recording.
Thank you. Why don't we go ahead and call our meeting to order, please? It's good to see everyone via Zoom this evening. If we could please stand for a moment of silence, and then if we could ask Tammy to say the pledge for us via Zoom.
In my candy bag, there's a lot of stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it later with you, but Daddy's on a meeting right now. Okay.
Okay, ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tammy. Let's see, Laurie, I think we have an electronic call to order that should be sufficient. Each council member should have received a copy of the minutes of our last regularly scheduled meeting. If you'd like to take a moment to look those over for any possible corrections or additions.
Motion.
Thank you, Karen.
Welcome.
Second.
Mayor.
Thank you. Motion's been made and second. If there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And are there any opposed? Thank you. Minutes are approved. Each of you should have received in your packet a copy of our latest check register. If you could indicate if you received that, please. Thank you. Item 5 on our agenda. Let's see, Laurie, do we have any public comments other than some of the issues on the agenda later?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Under mayor's comments, several things that I'd like to spend just a couple of moments discussing with the council. and an apology to our guest on the meeting with us that this may not be of greatest interest to. But clearly, the number one issue that I would like to talk with the council about tonight is our sanitation and trash transition from the City of Georgetown Public Works Department to Republic Services. It's a monumental transition. And as each of you know, it's had its difficulties in the early stages. But as we get into an explanation or an examination of some of this issue, and then hear some of your all's questions or comments, I thought it would be helpful to just briefly begin by reviewing the circumstances that kind of got us here today. We had and the wisdom, I think, that the council demonstrated in making the decision to privatize our sanitation. We've been in the fortunate position of having a public works department, a sanitation department, frankly, that we were very proud of. They gave incredible service to our citizens, more so than most communities enjoy. And I think we all enjoyed having our sanitation in-house for some of those very reasons. And the fact that we were able to provide that service at a $15 rate with no rate increases for at least 10 years that I know of, and it may have been even longer than that. But those circumstances, we also, council will recall several councils ago, we went into real depth into having an outside consultant study our sanitation department and our collection routes, and whether or not Georgetown was even a viable entity to remain in the solid waste collection business. We determined that we were, but we had some units of lines of business that we were in, such as commercial dumpsters, that were a real loser for us. So we eliminated some of those most high-cost, capital-driven losers that we had in our services in an effort to make this as beneficial for our citizens as long as we could. And I think the council's to be commended for taking that stance for as long as you could. But the circumstances changed surrounding you that you had no control. Landfill contracts expired. Landfills were closed. You had nothing to do with those things. Our tipping fees were increasing from $19 per ton to $51 per ton. That was out of your control. We were facing an absolute necessity to either subsidize sanitation through the general fund or adjust our rates to cover our cost. That nice equilibrium that we enjoyed for 10 plus years, the market no longer provided that. So I think the Public Works Committee and the council started doing a deep dive into this analysis and really did it well, and determined that privatizing public works was indeed the way for us to go. We managed to, through this bid process, come up with a rate of $15.88 per month, and that includes every other week curbside recycling. It was a remarkable win for our citizens, in my opinion. And I think it remains such. We now get to the stage of implementing this contract, the actual nuts and bolts of taking our public works department and turning over the sanitation routes to a for-profit entity. At this point, I just want to remind the council that at this point in the process, council has discharged their responsibilities entirely. You have completed your legislative responsibility at that point. The implementation of this service is an administrative function that is entirely my responsibility. I have appreciated your calls, your concerns, your helping us hear citizens, your suggestions, and your support in the process. But I just want to remind you that the responsibility for this part of the transaction has been the administration's responsibility. It is clear to us now that there were a couple of missteps early in this process. Despite our best efforts for there to be no missteps. The first had a little bit to do with COVID, and I want the council to understand that we had offered to let Republic employees ride with all of our drivers to assess routes, to see exactly where we collect trash, where we back into, what little cubby holes there might be. Their corporate policies wouldn't allow that. Should have insisted that they do a tag-along, drive behind, but that opportunity was not there because of their corporate policy. Secondly, we know that early on, internally, Republic circulated incorrect information to their call centers. And to be clear, these calls are not being answered locally or in Lexington. Almost all of the calls in our area, according to Republic representatives, are routed to a call center in Indianapolis. They're a national company. When the call center in Indianapolis reaches capacity, it will then rotate those calls, roll over those calls to a call center in Charlotte. If they max out in Charlotte, those calls will be forwarded to a call center in Denver. The point is, they have national call centers and they are manned, but they're not local. They are only as good as the information that is in their system. And they had bad information for the first few days. It drove us crazy. It drove you crazy. It drove our citizens crazy. That has been corrected. For a period of time that was unacceptable to me, all of our citizens' data was not uploaded into their system. So when citizens called, they had a negative experience. That has been corrected. At every step, we've taken steps to address what have been difficult circumstances for our citizens to endure. Now, complicate that just a little bit by the fact that we had a couple of bad weather days that affected trash collection, and they would have affected trash collection regardless of if we did it or someone else. So if we add all that up, we have had some unhappy citizens. We still have some trash that needs collecting, but we are in constant communication with Republic Services. I can't say enough about the work that Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer Service has done, in particular, Sean and Jeff and their staff have taken so many calls. So has our public works, so has everyone involved in the process. But the water company has really borne the brunt of this, and they have been incredibly professional. Sean forwards every complaint in detail to Republic. He is so disciplined in this on behalf of our citizens. So your people are really working and trying to get this correct. I am confident that this will improve this week. We today started the new routes that Republic has established. As you know, last week, Republic ran the routes that Georgetown has always run. They started today running the routes that Republic has set up and notified people what their new collection days would be. This will introduce a new round of confusion. Trash here on Broadway used to be picked up on Monday morning. Last Monday, Republic picked up my trash on Monday morning. I knew not to put it out today because my new pickup day is Thursday. But as I drive through subdivisions in Georgetown today that used to be picked up on our Monday collection, I see a lot of houses with trash cans out. So we're still learning. Our citizens are still learning the routine, the routes and the routines. I think as we settle into the new schedules and Republic settles into the new schedules, they're going to become more consistent on time of day. I don't think they're going to pick up your trash at the same time of day the city did. I think they may work at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. We also know that this company makes extensive use of a telephone calling system to notify customers of pickup. We didn't have that capacity. This company uses that tool a lot, we've learned, to notify people of collection days, and they'll even use that system to notify citizens of collections on Saturdays. We will reach an equilibrium that works, I believe, as well as their systems work in every other city across America. The thing that I'm going to have to get used to and help people get used to is that's still not going to look like Georgetown Public Works. It's still not going to feel like Georgetown Public Works. But I do expect this to improve this week. I expect to improve the following week. And within 3 weeks, I don't expect this to be an issue of any type. But I know you all have had a boatload of experiences yourselves, and you've heard about a lot. I'd be glad to hear any of your comments. We want you to know that we're continuing our daily contacts with the company. Robert Bruin is in daily contact with the company with addresses. GMWSS is multiple times daily. We're having weekly Zoom calls with the management and our entire team. It's our garbage team at City Hall and Robert and GMWSS. We intend to Zoom again tomorrow to see how the first day of the new routes went and the corrections that were inputted last week. What has the experience been to this point? We also have talked to Robert about, while Republic needs to pick up the trash, we have heard the complaints that because of the style of truck or the way it dumps, that in some areas we've seen more litter blowing around. Now, the litter is something we like to do something about. So we'll see some of our public works crews out trying to do some litter abatement to at least make sure that our community looks clean, stays clean as it can during this transition period. Now, I'll be glad to stop talking and take any comments or questions any of you all have.
Mayor, I have a question or a comment. I just want to thank everyone who's been involved in this transition. I know it's been difficult and frustrating, but I do feel like we're making progress. I've driven around town and done an inventory of neighborhoods a couple of times. I know others on the council have as well. Fielded lots of phone calls, and there's one area that I talked to Andrew about. I just want to make sure I mention it because they've not had pickup now for 2 weeks, and their day is Thursday of this week. So it's going to almost be 3 weeks. And that's Payne's Crossing. with Seminole and part of Showalter and Reading. We did get all Bradford taken care of, and that was good. But that area, if I don't know if we need to run our own trucks, it's a small area, but I don't know what the possibilities are, but that's one area of note that Republic might be able to do an earlier run, so we don't have dogs getting into it and everything. But I think we're going to come out on the good side of this, and I appreciate everybody's efforts and patience, and especially the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Willow.
And Mayor,
Yes.
if I can, like Willow said, on the east side of town, there's several places, including Horseshoe Drive, which is where the shop is at as well, that it's heading into 3 weeks since any of the trash has been picked up. And of course, Public Works knows how much, because of my business, how much trash I accumulate. So now I'm putting it in boxes, putting tops on boxes, taking it down. Are they going to take, and I see other citizens putting in boxes, plastic bags, all kinds of ways that they can come up with it. Are they going to take all of that trash when they do finally come?
Karen, I think my answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Andrew, are you on here with me?
Yes, they will take it.
Okay. If they
That's
come in the
Particularly
trucks,
in these first few weeks when they're correcting any of these misses.
okay, because I mean, I have tons of it. And then I talked to a couple of other businesses that are the small businesses, and there's a couple of them that they have quite a bit of it because we produce so much more trash. And so they were concerned about, will they come and pick it all up? Because if they just pick up the cans, I'm going to dump that into cans, and I'm still going to have the situation, and I'll never catch up with it. So if they do that, then I think people will become happy if they clean it all up that's been created with it. So that was one of the main concerns that people had. Are they going to pick it all up, and then they're not going to charge me for the additional thing? But I kind of didn't understand, if we turned the contract over to them on February the 1st, why didn't they start? I know there was a few hiccups, but why didn't they seem to start on February the 1st? And some areas of town got picked up and came back the second week, and some areas didn't. Did you ask them why they weren't ready to start that week?
We have addressed those questions and others in some detail, Karen. They assured us they were going to be ready. They assured us they were going to be ready right up until we began to not be ready. We questioned that, and even there was even an opportunity for more time. We weren't demanding that it roll out immediately,
Right.
but we were assured that they had done this numerous times, and this, they were ready. I suspect, I don't want this to sound defeatist in any way, but I suspect that this change is of such a magnitude, and it's the only time we're ever going to do it in our history, probably, that there were going to be bumps. I think what will tell the tale about this eventually is how well we responded and how well we corrected things to make sure it began working well as quickly as we could.
Well, I'm happy that you told us that you were willing to, because you're right, once this passes into your hands, that you were willing to have a ride along with them, or even let them drive along to see, because like where my business is, how they have to back into it. And I know there's 2 or 3 other places at least several other places. It's odd kind of how you have to pick up the trash. And so I appreciate that you said that, but it really disappoints me with Republic that they did not. I mean, they're the second largest trash company in the United States, that they weren't able to pick it up and run with the ball a little faster. But I did expect problems in the beginning, because anything new, there's some problems with it. But I've been kind of disappointed in that. But over time, it should work out okay. And I'm glad you've been in contact with them the way you have. And continuing to talk to them, to have that relationship with them. So.
Yeah, I think it's we need to be this involved. This is it's one of the most important functions we provide, and one of the most key values that our citizens have is our city being clean, and it reflects the pride and community that we have. So this is something we got to get right, and we will.
All right, good. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions on that unpleasant topic?
Yes, sir, Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead, Todd.
And I know that we've had people all over town, and by no means am I saying that we have to do this, but has there been some thought or consideration for those people that didn't get their trash picked up, that they get a credit or some type of compensation for that very reason?
Yeah, that's kind of almost, Todd, the inverse of Karen's question. Would we charge people more for setting out a bunch of stuff?
Right.
No, we're not going to do that, because we're going to get all the trash.
Okay.
Same reason we're not going to give a discount, because we're going to get all the trash.
Right. Yeah, that was.
Mayor, if I can say something, what Todd said, as long as they, within the month that you're billed, I know we because we had this back in the day, as long as it's within the month that you're billed and they pick it up, even though we're supposed to have a weekly service, as long as they pick it all up, then in essence, they've kind of done their job and gotten rid of it. So now if they pass into the next month, say our people that have been waiting 3 weeks and it turns into 4 weeks, then you might go back and say, hey, you didn't get your trash picked up in that monthly time of that bill that you had. But as long as they get it picked up before the end of that monthly bill, you're not happy, but they've done the service they're supposed to have done within a month. So within a month of the bill. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
I surely hope we meet that low standard.
If they don't, I'll be complaining again, as you well know. So
I know. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Anything else, Todd?
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of other things for Mayor's comments, and then I promise we'll get to the rest of the agenda. First off, in your packet is the budget schedule for the new council members. Just you or the ones that are only going through this the second time. We're required by ordinance to give you a schedule by which we'll prepare and present the budget to you, and that is in your packet. We're also going to go through the forecasting exercise again this year, where we ask you all, we give you all trend data, and then ask you all to confidentially forecast our revenues in each of our key revenue line items. And then later we'll aggregate those numbers and present them back to you. They're helpful for us when we predict revenues. And last year, half or more of the council participated in that exercise. So it's all confidential, and but that information is in there for you as well. Also in your packet is a letter from, I believe it's the Department for Local Government. It's an annual letter that all elected officials receive that goes through the calculation for this year's cost of living adjustment. And if I could give the council just a little bit of history on this issue, again, especially for the two newest council members, the Department for Local Government has calculated the COLA, or cost of living adjustment, every year for a very long time. And they actually, they go back and they relate to an act of the General Assembly when certain elected official salaries couldn't exceed X dollar amount. And every year since then, they've calculated with the cost of, with the inflation rate, what those maximum salaries translate into in today's dollars. So that is the history of why we get the letter. Historically, council members and court members back some years ago just let salaries languish and never really address the cost of living adjustments. So probably 20, 25 years ago, most local governments adopted an ordinance that said that local officials accepted the cost of living adjustment change without taking action. In fact, that legislation or that ordinance stated that those cost of living adjustments would take effect automatically unless they were voted to the contrary. It takes actually a negative action to not do those. So most local governments adopted that automatic provision, which I think is appropriate given the fact that legislative bodies never receive salary adjustments. Even this council, we've gone through salary adjustments for virtually every city position except city council. So it will be my recommendation that you not take action on this COLA letter you've received. In either case, it's not on the agenda and you can't take action tonight. This is for your information tonight, that this is in your packet and you have those options available to you, but it will have to be at a future meeting, and you now have the information and the opportunity to think about that if you wish to take any action. Any questions there? Thanks. We've had one council member in the past that decided they did not want to take the raise. In fact, it is required that you accept the raise unless you vote out of the entire program. And that person said they would just donate that much to charity. So there are various options that you have on your thoughts there. Real progress on our Broadway house. You've seen our public works trucks down there, and they've just been going to town. Almost all the plaster is out. Obviously, we've left the floor so we can walk around in there and see, but have a contractor coming over to visit us Wednesday afternoon at 1 to kind of give us thoughts on the house. And now we can see it better. And if you ever want to go through it, get a hold of one of us, and we'll be glad to walk you through. Any questions on those mayor's comments? Okay. Thank you. Item 7 on our agenda is Parks and Recreation, a resolution for an application for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. And I see Kimberly is with us. This is a pretty fun project, Kim. Council will recall we've done lots of land and water conservation grants. They're typically on a 50-50 matching basis. This one's going to be really fun because we want to replace all the playground equipment at Ed Davis Park. Mm-hmm. And Kim's even worked her magic and gotten half of the match. And I can't think of a more appropriate time for us to do something for Ed Davis Park than right after William McIntyre and Dave Nichols have passed, as much as they did for Ed Davis Park. So Kimberly, the details are in the packet, but what do you need to tell the council?
If you remember correctly, last year we applied for Brooking Park Playground replacement with the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and it was run through my budget so that the city would pay half and the county would pay half. We are yet to know what the status is of that application, but we're going to move forward with this year's application. It's due on May 31st, and there's a lot of checks that we have to do in the boxes before we get to May 31st, and this is one of them. And the next check in a box is on March 3rd, 2022. That is going to be our public meeting that's required by the Land and Water Conservation Fund. And it's going to be at 6 p.m. at Ed Davis Learning Center. So we're hoping with COVID, it's really slowed down the process of the land and water application at the federal level. We, for the last cycle, we passed all the way through to the state level. And once it goes to the federal level, we don't know the status until we know. So we're just keeping them cycled through, and we're going to do the same thing this year with the Ed Davis Learning Center. My intention is to run it through my budget so that the city pays for half and the county pays for half. Does
Great.
anybody have any questions?
There a motion for approval?
Mayor, I'll make a motion. We accept this.
Thank you.
Second, Mayor.
And second? Okay, I heard Connie and saw Willow. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. That carries.
Thank you very
Ken.
much, Mayor and Council.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Item 8 on our agenda, under city attorney, we have a municipal order approving the Ecofiber incentive. Jack, Andrew, thank you all for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Mayor. How are you today? And the council members, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, we're presenting a resolution for Ecofiber. This is for final approval that will go to the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority on their Kentucky Business Investment Incentive. It's required for us to make this appearance. I don't know whether Devin will read the resolution first, but as a part of this process, once they are approved for final, the company itself will have an additional 2 years before it actually activates the incentive. But also, as you noted, Andrew Lazaro, who is financial controller with Ecofiber, is here, and he would like to be able to describe the project for yourself and for the council. Andrew.
So thank you for your time this evening. For those not familiar, Ecofiber is an industrial hemp company that was founded in Australia and chose to establish operations here in Kentucky after the passage of the 2014 and 2018 farm bills. Our primary operations include our nutraceutical division, which produces a leading pharmacy brand for hemp-derived health and beauty products, and our hemp black operations, which manufactures and sells sustainable, high-performance textiles, pigments, and coatings. Sustainability is key to our philosophy and has played a large part in the construction of our facility. This project resulted in the investment of $15 million into our 50,000 square foot manufacturing building here in the Lanes Run Business Park. It is a LEED Platinum certified building. It's only the third of its kind here in the US. The investment far exceeds the initial KBI anticipated investment of $5.6 million, and our target for job creation was initially the addition of 10 full-time jobs, which we have already met. With our ongoing commitment to research and development, the introduction of new products and revenue streams, we look forward to a long and prosperous partnership with the local community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andrew. So the initial preliminary component of a KBI was done back in February of 2019. So here we are in 2022. As I indicated, they'll have 2 years if you approve the resolution, and then KIDFA approves it. I would like to mention 2 or 3 things that I think are of extremely importance, and Mayor Prather, you obviously are perfectly aware of this. This really does meet some of our higher priorities in terms of economic development, specifically diversification of our economy. It also is an expansion of a wonderful project that initially was in another community and then chose to come here. The capital investment, Andrew's already addressed. It was that $5 million, and now it exceeds that. And the employment, quite frankly, even though it said 10 in the KBI application, they're actually over 40 employees, full-time employees right now. So we've exceeded our expectation. And then lastly, I would like to mention that the city, as well as the county, but in this particular place, the city of Georgetown has been receiving since September of 2020, the occupational numbers. And so they will continue to do that until they actually activate. So we're very pleased and proud of the project and its location at Lanes Run. And it has in fact become a wonderful benchmark for our community and for our park. I'll take any questions.
Good, good. Thank you, Jack and Andrew, very much. Why don't we go ahead and read the resolution, Devin? And
I'd be glad to. We actually, it's a municipal order and we actually don't usually read these. So we typically only read a resolution if it's honoring someone or an event, but
then if we can just go by title, we do not need to read anything more than what is
Thank you, Mayor.
required here.
Can I just make a motion, Mayor?
You may, Connie.
Thank
And
you.
second,
And now it's seconded. Thank you. See how easy that was? Thank you very much. Let me say to the council that Ecofiber is just proven to be a remarkable addition to the Georgetown economy and the Lanes Run Business Park. And I think what they will accomplish there may even be more stunning than what they've gotten accomplished to this point. That leads platinum certification, and the fact that there are very few of those in the state or in America. 2 of those are in Georgetown, Kentucky. Ecofiber and the Manufacturing Engineering Center at TMMK are 2 of the only LEEDs Platinum buildings in America. We can be
That's
real
pretty cool.
proud of it.
that's pretty cool, Mayor. They have them both here.
That is very cool.
2 out of
stuff.
3. We're doing good.
Yeah. So resolution's been made. Motion and second has been made. All in favor, say aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. That carries, Jack. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you. I have one more, if I may, please.
Oh, that's right. You're with us on the next one.
Yes, sir.
Item B is a resolution approving the sale of property in the Lanes Run Business Park.
That is correct, sir. Business Authority met on Friday. A contract was approved by the authority for a 3-acre tract. It'll end up being a 3-acre tract. It's just right now raw land. It's for Eckert Supply, which is it's analogous to Consolidated Electrical Distributors, which is also at the business park. They are a company from Corydon, Indiana, with various locations. Let me just give you the paragraph that relates specifically to what I normally would do in NICS code. They operate primarily in SIC code 5063, which is electrical apparatus, equipment, wiring supplies, and construction materials. Not only will they be doing that in an 11,000 square foot facility, but they'll also be doing some work by assembling boxes for Kentucky Utilities. So we get not only just this, we get some assembly, which also meets very well with our BP1. 3 acres, and I don't know whether a map was included, but the property is on the end of Endeavor, almost down toward Commonwealth Tool and Machine. It's what we would call, it's not bad property, but its back is to the floodplain. So the terrain is something that they can work with, but we would call this is the kind of property that we love being able to sell, and the purchaser really liked the property, but it's almost in some what we would call not necessarily developable property, but we're being able to do that, and so we're really, really pleased with that. So 3 acres, and again, we're continuing to work to further the opportunities, again, for a company that is not in our community, but will be coming to Georgetown, Scott County. Any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
There a motion for approval of the resolution?
So moved.
Mayor, I'll go ahead, Willow.
Thank you, Craig.
I'll second.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Question, did you say, Jack, how many jobs?
I did not say how many jobs. You're talking about for Eckert? I did not
Yes.
say, but I'm guessing between 3 and 5. This will not be by the way, and I'm glad you mentioned that, this will not be a KBI. So this will be a straight wage. So we'll get the capital investment, we'll get the land purchase, and we'll get new jobs. But I don't envision it being more net for the first phase. They've already talked about an expansion. So when we do our preliminary development plan, we'll show the 10 or 11,000 plus expansion. So, okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Quick question, Mayor. Jack, what was the price per acre on this?
On this one, it's phase one, 25,000.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. And we do have a check. Ernest check is with Devin, and it's for $1,500, $500 an acre.
Good. There are no other questions for Jack. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Then that carries. Jack, anything else for us tonight?
No. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Appreciate it.
If you would give Eric our best, Andrew, thank you.
I will do so. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Item C under City Attorney is an executive session. I don't think that will be very long, but Devin, do you have anybody teed up to make the motion?
I've got it, Mayor, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
I moved to enter executive session pursuant to KRS 61.8101B to deliberate the future sale or acquisition of real property.
Second, Mayor.
And seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. I'll give Andrew a minute to. Andrew, are we ready for a motion to resume regular session?
You are back live and recording.
Thank you.
So
Cheers.
moved.
So moved. Thank you, Willa. And
Second.
thank you, Todd. Motion's been made and seconded to resume regular session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. We're back in regular session. While in executive session, we discussed potential property acquisition and no action taken. Item 9 on our agenda under finance is presentation of our audit for the year ended 6/30/21. Heather, sorry to make you wait so long tonight, but thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I am going to share my screen with you all so you can see some of the audit report. So give me just 1 second so I can do that.
All right.
And while Heather is doing that, of course, she'll be sharing her screen with the audit tonight. But tomorrow I will email all of the council members a copy of the audit report. I also have bound copies of the audit report in my office. If you'd like a physical copy, you're welcome to let me know that you'd like one. And you can pick it up at City Hall or I can mail it.
Thanks.
I'm assuming you all can see my screen that says City of Georgetown financial statements and supplementary information. Is that right?
Yes.
The little thing that said your screen sharing was on my other screen. So I was a little confused that it wasn't showing the right screen because I have two. So just wanted to make sure you all were seeing the right thing. So as the mayor said, I'm here to present the 2021 audit results. We've got, let's see here, your opinion. It's going to go to it. Your opinion is really the most important part of the audit, right? That's what you all are looking for when you get your bound financial statements. The opinion, it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. So I always tell you all in the auditing world, that's a clean opinion. That's as good as it gets. So that's what you're looking for there on your independent auditor's report. Because you all are a governmental entity, you also have what we call your internal control and compliance report in accordance with governmental standards. So that report, there's a couple of things you want to look for on that report. So there's a section here that says internal control over financial reporting. And in that section, you will see on the very last paragraph of that section, there's a sentence that says, during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be material weaknesses. So for that particular report, again, that's a clean report. That's as good as it gets. This report also has compliance and other matters. So we look to make sure that there's nothing in regards to, laws, regulations, contracts, grant agreements, non-compliance that would have an issue for the financial statements. We did not identify anything there that would need to be reported. So again, it just says no instances of non-compliance were noted. So that's your governmental report. You also this year have what we call your single audit. Because you spent over $750,000 of federal money, you have a separate audit in accordance with the uniform guidance, where we come in and we test very specific provisions of those federal awards. So for that report, again, you're looking for the opinion heading. And it says, in our opinion, the city complied in all material respects with the types of compliance requirements referred to above. So again, that's a clean opinion. That's as good as it gets, kind of in the uniform guidance world as well. This report also has an internal control component related to the federal programs. So that piece is under a heading called Report on Internal Control over Compliance. And you will see they are very similar wording to what we looked at on the governmental report. It says, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control over compliance that we consider to be material weaknesses. So again, this deals specifically with your federal awards. And again, it's a clean opinion. That's kind of as good as it gets in our world. I'm going to just point out a few pieces of numbers for you. Obviously, this is 70 pages of information, but the governmental fund income statement. So this just shows your revenues and expenditures for your governmental funds. So it excludes Georgetown Municipal as well as your other business type activities. Total revenue, $33,453,000 in 2021. Now that's compared to $36 million in the previous year. You'll see revenues are down. However, they're down primarily related to intergovernmental revenues. You all had some different projects going on in the previous year where you were getting additional funding very specific to that project. And so it wasn't unusual to see a drop there. Expenditures, so what you all spent, total expenditures, $29,158,000 compared to the previous year, $35,792,000. So you can see capital outlay, which is where those projects are. That was the big one that decreased. It went from 9.4 million down to 1.7 million. So that's just a direct correlation from the revenue went down, the expenditures went down for those specific projects. So, what's left over? So what's your net income? Your net change in fund balance. Net change in fund balance this year, $4,474,000. So that's pretty positive this year, $573,000 in the previous year. So what that looks like on your balance sheet, one key thing I wanted to point out. So your balance sheet is everything that you all have for governmental funds. These are current resources. This does not include your buildings, vehicles, those types of assets, or your long-term debt. These are more current financial resources. So assets, total assets are a little over 29 million in 2021. And you can really see the big difference is that 23,507,000 of cash that you all had on hand. Compared with 13.5 in the previous year. That equates to, you've got your liabilities and then you've got your fund balance. So fund balance is what's left over. If you're able to pay off all your liabilities with your assets, what's left over. Total fund balance, $26,002,799. And the previous year is $21,528,000. And you'll see your unassigned. These are things that are not restricted for any specific purpose. You all haven't designated it for anything, and it's not restricted by outside resources. That number went up pretty substantially in 2021. So $21,119,000. Then you've got, I always like to point out your government-wide balance sheet or your statement of net position. This is the one time per year that you all get to see everything. So what that means is it's got Georgetown Municipal in there. It's got all of your buildings and vehicles and equipment and all the liabilities and long-term debt and leases. Everything that you all own, everything that you all owe, long-term and short-term, is in this statement. So your statement of net position, total assets and what we call deferred outflows of resources, $263,153,000. So that number is up some from the previous year. Total liabilities, so that's everything you owe at the end of the year, including long-term debt. And we always point out the net pension and OPEB, other post-employment benefit liability, that relates to the CERS. So CERS is underfunded. Since it's underfunded, accounting rules require us to pick up your proportionate share of the unfunded liability. And your share for the pension liability this year was just a little over $48 million. For the OPEB, or other post-employment benefit, that's the health insurance, that number was just a little over 15 million. So you can see that number went up pretty substantially from the previous year. It's went up every year that we've done this. It'll probably continue to go up. Now, I always like to point out, this liability is not something you go out and pay for tomorrow. It's something that you pay for as you pay your contribution every month. So there's another schedule in here that shows that you've paid 100% of the required contribution. You've done that every year. So it's not that you haven't paid what you were supposed to. It's just people are living longer. The plans haven't earned what they thought they were going to earn. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into that estimate of that liability. And so that liability has grown. So rates will change over the years, and you'll just need to be responsible for making sure that you make those monthly. So net position is what's left over again. So total assets minus total liabilities is your total net position. That number is really just about even with the previous year, 165,321 million, compared with 1,650,191 in the previous year. So pretty well even year over year. The other statement that you kind of see one time per year is your statement of activities. In governmental accounting, we have different, what we call basis of accounting. We do different funds, different ways. This is kind of the one time that you see everything in one place under the same basis. And the only thing that I wanted to point out on here is you can see your net position, your change in net position. Total change in net position this year was 130,145. So that was your change that we just saw on the previous page. When I said it didn't change a whole lot, this was the change, 130,145. So as you can see, this is 70 pages of information. These are just kind of the highlights. As you all get into it, if you ever have any questions, obviously Stacy's always available, but I am as well. You can always let me know if you have something specific that I can answer for you. We do have one other report that we always give you all. This is the what we call a communication with governance, governance being the city council. Most of this information is pretty standard. We go through here and we say, did we have any difficulties with management? Did we have any disagreements? All of those types of things. We didn't have anything like that. We did have two minor kind of recommendations. So in our world, in the auditing world, recommendations can fall into a couple of different categories. They can be just verbal things that we mentioned to Stacy or to your staff as we're going through the audit. They can also be what we call deficiencies in internal control or material weaknesses. So significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. Those actually go in the report that we were just looking at. So you all didn't have any of those. Then we have other matters, just other things that we want to make sure are written down that we think you all need to make sure you take care of, but they do not rise to the level of being a deficiency in your internal control. So they're just kind of other matters. So we have two items on here. The first item has to do with the way you all get your check runs. So you all get approval on all the checks that are run each month, I believe. And when we were doing our testing and examining your controls, we actually found a few check runs, I believe it was in December and January, that did not get presented to council. It seemed like it was just an honest mistake. We ended up looking at, I think, pretty much all the runs, and I don't think we found any other issues. But we were just recommending here that you kind of implement maybe an additional review to make sure that council is getting all of the checks that are written, because that is a part of your controls. That's what we call a compensating control. You all get to see everything that's being written by the city. And so we want to make sure that you get a complete listing. But we think it was just, like I said, just a mistake. And so we were just wanting to make sure we reiterated to make sure you all get all those. The other item has to do with the county employees retirement system. you have to make sure that you all are contributing the right amount. Sometimes when people are hired or they leave, there's these little, manual calculations that have to be done to make sure that everyone gets the right pay in to CERS. And in the current year, we actually found one individual, when he was hired, one of his pay runs was left off of the contribution into CERS. So it happens. It's not the first time I've seen it happen. It happens. And we're just saying to make sure that you correct that. And I think you all have actually already implemented, before we even found it, an additional review to make sure that that didn't happen again. So we think that that's not going to be an issue in the future, but we did want to point it out that we found that that happened, and make sure that you all take care of that for in the future. Are there any questions on anything I went over, the report or the financials? I know this is the first time y'all are seeing it. As I said, it's a clean opinion, so that's what you're looking for.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment on
Yes,
your other matters, even though that happened unintentionally, and I do believe it happened unintentionally. David and I can go back far enough to remember when at one time we had a finance director that $1 million ended up escaping the city that we never quite knew where it went under. That is exactly what was happening, is what you're putting under other matters. So it can become something serious, and it has for the city of Georgetown, although in this incident, I don't believe that's what's going on. Like you said, I think it's an honest mistake, but I'm glad you called it, and I'm glad you brought it to the attention of the staff and the city council. So thank you for doing your due diligence there.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Just a quick comment. To me, this seems like a glowing report. And Stacy, I know you're to be commended, and Mayor and his entire staff, but this is very good. I guess one quick question about the fund balance. I think you were showing 26 million. That we'd have a little bit less than that in our actual bank accounts, right? Or are you saying that is what we would be showing? And if so, what date? I guess that's a rollover date, like the end of June? Or?
This is at June 30th, 2021. And what this shows is if you were to mathematically add up all of your assets, which includes cash and cash equivalents of 23,507,000, plus all your receivables. So receivables are things that people owe you at the end of the year but have not yet paid. Okay. And then you were to pay off all of your, it's basically your short-term liabilities. So the things that accrued payroll, accounts payable, like your utility bills, those types of things, you were to pay all of that off, that equates to your fund balance. So that's what we kind of say, that you have available. It's not necessarily the amount in the bank account, right? Because you have things that are outstanding that have not been received yet. So cash hasn't come in. But it is a good kind of estimate of where we think you all are in regards to if you were to take all your assets, you get all that money in, and then you paid off everything you owe, your current liabilities, then you would have that $26,002,799. And that number did, go up substantially from the previous year, especially in that unassigned category. In the previous year, y'all had set quite a bit of money aside, I think, maybe for the next year's budget and for some other things. And in this year, you have what we call unassigned, which is kind of, money that's got a little bit more, less restrictions, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
And David, when we've talked about the council having flexibility as it considers the city hall renovation, and we've pointed to our increasing cash reserves or carry forward reserves, we probably interuse some terms that may not be technically completely correct. And I could see where that led to your series of questions. We've been talking about our cash balance, what our fund balance, and it is unassigned fund balance is in that $21 million range.
Any other questions?
Does this require an approval, Heather or Stacy?
I don't believe that you have to. You can accept it if you want, but you don't have to.
It's a great report. I would ask for a motion for approval.
Real quick.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And David, was that a second?
Mine was the first, but I'll take the second.
Yours was the first. And who was that?
I'm kidding. Give it to Tammy.
Okay. Oh, it's Tammy. There she is on my screen. All right. If there are no further questions for Heather, all in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Thank you, Heather. I appreciate you sticking around so long with us on that.
Thank you all for having me. You all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Under item 10 on our agenda, under Chief Administrative Officer, is the municipal order approving the fee proposal for the City Hall architects. Delighted to finally let Karen and Elizabeth turn on their cameras and join us for the meeting. Council has had an opportunity to review this, and the Finance Committee has done a pretty deep dive with it. Finance Committee has heard newer information, I think, than the rest of the council has. So, Karen, Elizabeth, how should we proceed?
Well, thank you, Mayor Prather, for having us this evening. We don't have a prepared presentation, but if you have any questions or if you'd like us to address anything, we'd be happy to do so.
One thing that I thought would be helpful as we prepare to take this step, we have been advised, and the Finance Committee and administration have had a chance to talk in some detail about the idea of moving forward with this project under a construction manager form of doing the project. And the one thing that would be slightly different in this approach than what the council has done on previous projects is that we're looking at the concept of bringing in the construction manager almost immediately in the design process. So that construction manager can be a part of making sure the plans are buildable, practical, take care of materials that are most available at the best cost for the best outcome for the project. So I just wanted to prepare the council that as soon as we make this step tonight, assuming that we go ahead and approve this fee proposal tonight, what our next step will be is to do an RFP or an RFQ for a construction manager, and would intend to bring back that recommendation to the council pretty quickly. So I just wanted you all to have the full picture of what we think this and our next step will be. We'll take this step, but then move fairly quickly, hopefully to select a construction manager to help make this project real. Is that explained well enough, Karen?
Yes, sir. I would also add that would help with us pricing the project along the way during design. They could give us real world pricing, and then given the climate that we're in, I think that's beneficial.
Okay. David, Connie, you all have had a chance to talk with the architects. Do you all have any questions you think the council needs to hear, or comments you think the council needs to know of your discussions?
From my perspective, the meeting that we had the other day was very helpful. I know we talked about some of the additional landscaping that might be worth mentioning, that they did offer to go ahead and do a layout back behind City Hall for our parking lot. And I don't think that was originally included, but Karen, I think that was something that you all were good with helping us on.
Yes, we'd be happy to, and to also look at the front and any extension or thoughts around tree plantings in the vicinity of the front of the building too.
And then allowing us to, take a look at the plans, especially with the council chambers, for example, and getting comfortable and satisfied with that. And sometimes that might need to volley back and forth a little bit, but that's, built into the price. And I guess the overall price was 600 and what was it, Karen, 637?
Yep. I had it up just a minute ago.
I think that's what I've got.
Yeah.
637,985.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Mhm.
And what that's, I know typically that's a percentage of the cost of a project. And this is probably 5% or so, or a little bit more than 5%. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. Maybe I'm a little bit off on that.
Elizabeth, wasn't it at 7? I think.
7, I believe.
Yeah, it's roughly 7% of the
Okay.
adjusted estimated cost.
Okay.
So is that cost included, that 600,000 included in that 7 million that you proposed?
The current proposal, Karen, is is 9.1.
Yes, sir.
So this would be on top of the 9.1.
Okay, this would be plus the 9.1.
Yes.
9.1 include furniture, like a turnkey situation?
I don't think it included furniture, Karen. I think it's a
That was
turnkey
just
for the builder.
construction. Correct.
It didn't have, in the information we got, it said it did not include furniture.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, at least from my perspective, I'm fine to make the motion. Certainly there can be other questions and other discussions, but I appreciate the extra effort and them coming back to us during the finance meeting and going through some of those details. I know this is an expensive project, but I mean, it's been said before, City Hall is the emblem of our community, an emblem of Georgetown, and it needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be done the right way. So I feel very good about this next step.
Thank you.
You too, Mayor. And I'm like David, meeting with them, and I really appreciate that too, having that extra meeting to answer all those questions and go through some things. And it has been ongoing, and it's sad that it's more than it was 3 years ago, but everything is more than it was 3 years ago. And I agree with David. I said this in our meeting, that this is something that we've been needing to do for a long time, and it is something that expresses Georgetown and what we are and where we are, and it just needs to be brought up to date and taken care of, because it's property that we own, and we need to make sure that it's taken care of for another 100 years for sure. So I'm happy to move forward with the second.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any other questions for either Finance Committee or our architects? If not, all in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, Karen.
I was just going to say that we're happy to come in front of you all anytime you have questions. So please don't hesitate to ask along the way.
Okay,
I'm sure you will, but just put that out there.
Rest assured. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you. That carries, and delighted to be at this stage of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Karen, Elizabeth, that we need to do tonight on this project?
Nope, not for us.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's see. Under item 11 on the agenda, Police Department, a municipal order for surplus equipment. This is kind of an interesting one that we're asking for your approval on. We surplused a number of police cars at the last meeting. This is surplusing the light bars and the equipment from the vehicles. Typically, the companies charge us around $250 to take this equipment off of vehicles that we're through with. But in this case, they've said if we agree to donate the equipment to departments in Eastern Kentucky that might need it, they're going to waive our fee. So we can save money, get the good feeling of helping some other departments, and declare this stuff surplus.
Wow, that's a really good idea, Mayor. That's good to be able to
Yeah.
help out a brother. That's good.
I make a motion that we accept that.
Thank you, Todd.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you, Connie.
So I was just talking, but yeah, I'll second.
All right. If there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Thank you. Item 12 on our agenda, Public Works has a municipal order ordering some more salt. In fact, we're going to order 300 tons, hoping we don't need it all, but if we have a couple of more storms like we have had, we will be getting into that 300 tons. So we thought we should ask for your approval.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second, Mayor.
Thanks, Greg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That carries.
Hey, Mayor.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity,
Yes, sir.
do we have? I don't know if Chief Bruin keeps records or not, but just how much of an increase we've seen in salt just since the last time we ordered it, from a pricing standpoint.
I'll ask
how
you.
much.
I'll send that out to you all.
Okay.
We've really had good luck with salt. Used to be kind of difficult getting it committed, making sure you were going to have enough. But since KLC and others have done these reverse auctions and let us buy at a price and then make commitments to purchase later, it's made our work with salt a lot easier. But JR did think we'd be smart to go ahead and get this 300 tons bought or reserved in case we need it. Item 14 on our agenda. It looks to me like our agenda left off council comments.
Mayor, do we need to vote on the salt purchase?
Did we not do that, Todd?
Don't think we did, but I'll make the motion that we approve.
There was a motion in second, Karen and Greg.
Okay, my
Did I
mistake.
call for the vote? Did I call for the vote, Madam Clerk?
You did the first and second. You just need to see who all is in favor.
Thank you, ma'am. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? I almost made it through the whole meeting, Todd. but I did need a little help before I got to the end of the agenda here. So yeah, although council comments aren't listed on your agenda, let's have those tonight. And again, going by the screen, Willow, do you mind if we start with you?
No problem. An update, if we have one. I noticed that the sidewalk there across from Tucker Yoakum Funeral Home has been completed. I'm wondering where we stand with the sidewalk and if we've had any significant pushback with people being able to pay their share. And are we using the ARPA funds to do that? I think Andrew told me earlier today that we had not done that yet, Mayor.
What I can tell you is that we've had a great response. Eddie gave me an update late last week. We've had a really good update, a really good response to people that have gotten the letters from the city. I can't give you the exact numbers, but Eddie thought that I think it may have been a positive response rate as high as maybe 80%.
Wow.
Folks taking advantage of that. Our question was, how quickly will we run out of funding that the council has allocated for the program? And how quickly we would need to come back to you with a recommendation that we increase that funding. Because I think it's going to be, it looks like it's going to be well received. I'll ask Eddie to give you all, send out an update on that program.
Okay.
We're in the estimating phase right now, Mayor. We're having the contractor take all the folks that have agreed and measure linear footage and come up with a total number for each. So we should have a total for everybody soon.
Okay, so we've had a good enough response to get that far then.
Okay.
And Mayor, with regards to the funding, we did not use ARPA funds for the sidewalk program. We did a separate allocation in the general fund budget for that. At the time, it was not understood to be a permitted use of ARPA, so we used general fund money.
Okay, thank you. I think Chief Colson was on here, still maybe. We did have that structure fire on East Main Extended, which I happened upon as it was happening in the fire committee. That house had been mentioned, and thankfully everything was taken care of in good order. And I just want to commend our fire department. As I was there, Tim Thompson was showing me, he said, you know, everybody's lives were saved and all of that. But he said, I want you to see what the firemen are taking out of that burned building right now. He said they go in and they look for all of the personal items that could possibly be salvaged right in that moment. And that's the most important thing that we do as fire personnel, is try to save the pictures and try to get out anything of value. And so I just think that's an under acknowledged thing that our fire personnel routinely do. And I saw that when those things were handed over to the people who lived there, it was a touching moment. So I commend them for that good work, and I'm glad no lives were lost. And Chief, I thought everything went well with that. So thank you.
Yeah, as much devastation that a fire brings, we try to preserve as much as we possibly can, because that homeowner appreciates the history and family memorabilia and things like that. Once it's gone, you can't get it back, and we take pride in trying to save as much as we can.
Absolutely. One other thing, I talked at length with Andrew about where we stand with a lot of the ARPA funding, and he said that he's going to come up and show us in the future, in the very near future, how all of that funding now can be used, how much of it's been designated, where those funds are going. Is that an accurate assessment of the conversation we had, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that we had hoped to kind of roll everything into the budget process as much as possible, but we don't want you guys to feel like you're in the dark. So I will send you all an email in the coming days that outlines what our balance is, where we spent the money. And I mean, basically, you all know we can consider that all that remaining balance, the general fund money. Just for your information, it stands at about $6.2 million of unallocated funds right now. But I will also send you a summary of where we've allocated that money.
Thank you. And we've had about 102 people respond to the questionnaire that was connected to the website, which is a lot more people than I thought might initially do it. And, you know, we have a lot of needs. We don't have near the money that we need to do so many of the projects that need to be done. But even if we can't meet the needs of the suggestions that the citizens make, I still think it's important to listen to the deep longings of the citizenry, because it might be able to be met 5 years from now. And planting those seeds of vision and longings that the people of our community have, it would still be important to prioritize and to listen to them. And I know that that's the goal of the mayor and of Andrew and hopefully the council as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Willow, very much. Mark.
Sorry. Mayor, thank you for the clarification and update earlier in the meeting on the garbage collection topic. So that's greatly appreciated. I know over the past week and a half, I've absolutely burned your telephone up, and I burned Andrew's phone up asking questions. So thank you for your patience, Andrew. Same to you. I've had questions. I know we've all had questions, but before I answered the citizens, I just wanted to make sure I had all the facts before I started answering questions. So thank you for your patience. Thank you, Andrew. And Mayor, thanks for the time earlier to discuss the situation. And it's going to get better. So thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mark. Tammy?
Similar to what Mark said, I just wanted to say thank you to the citizens for bearing with us through this. It's exceptionally complicated, and I know it's frustrating, but we do hear the citizens. We're used to exceptional service, and I think we made the right move, and I feel very positive about it. I feel like it's, it was going to be complicated no matter what we did with the change like this. And I appreciate the work that you all are all doing to help us get back to the standards that we're used to. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Tammy. Karen?
I also am glad that you talked about the trash thing. I don't know if it was the right move that we made, but it was the only move we could make. We were at a point that we didn't have a choice anymore. And I got a few people asking, well, why did we do this? And I just tell them we didn't have any place to put the garbage anymore. So we didn't have a choice. But yes, I was disappointed in how they have handled it. But I hope that they will straighten it out and work it out and roll it out so that after the end of the month, next month, it will be a whole lot smoother. So thank you for laying it out for us and talking to us about it. And I have one other citizen concern. It's around 189 Stevens Street. There's a car. They're not there in the daytime, but it comes in, they park on the side that says no parking. And a couple of the citizens actually told me that they park under the no parking sign. So I guess they're obviously aware that they're not supposed to be parking there. And they complain about cars coming around, and they even had, I don't know, I guess the fire department was out there for some reason or the other, and it was tight getting through with the fire truck. So they would ask for us to send a police officer out there and either have a courtesy call or a ticket put on there. But he's never there, and the particular car is never there until nighttime. So it's around 189 Stevens Drive. And I told him I would bring it to the mayor and let him know about it. So, but other than that, that's it.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, Karen. David?
Mayor, Karen, I know what you mean when you say we didn't really have another choice, but and we obviously did have another choice, but we didn't have another choice. And I guess the other choice would have been for us to continue to pick up the garbage and for the rates to go up, 2.5 to 3 times what they had been. And you talk about getting some phone calls and some hostile emails, that would have been done. That would have happened. And so in my mind, there's no question we did the right thing and the absolute best thing for the citizens of Georgetown. And
if I can break in, David, to your conversation there, one of the things that when you talk to people that when they're a little upset about it, and then you say, well, you're going to be able to have the recycling. The fact that we are offering the recycling with this new adventure, that's helping people to be a little bit more patient to say, okay, because I want the recycling to come about. They're excited about the recycling. So it's helping them to be a little bit more patient to wait for them to work out the kinks in and what they're doing and getting it done. So that's a positive.
Totally agree. And I've heard some other council members kind of use that as well as a way to explain, the benefits, the additional benefits. So anyway, it was a big undertaking. It is a big undertaking. It's a logistical challenge. And I know the mayor and Public Works and Andrew and the whole staff are working their tails off to make it right. And I certainly appreciate that, Mayor. I can't say much more. You said it so well earlier, but I just wanted to thank you and thank everybody involved. And I'm sure it'll smooth out and things will be fine in the long run. And quite honestly, when I look back at how bad, and Karen, you probably remember this too, one time we didn't have Herbie's, and you looked around Georgetown, it was disastrous looking going down some streets, bags sitting out on the side of the road and just a hodgepodge of containers. It was rough. And I know probably all of you remember that, but I think Karen and I were on the council when we had to make the decision to go to Herbie's, and what a great decision. So from my perspective, this is, it's a little bumpy, but it's going to be another positive step that we're taking for this community. So Anyway, I'll leave it at that, Mayor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David. Todd?
Thank you, sir. You know, I too want to echo, you know, and thank you and Devin. Devin is getting kind of shuffled in this, but Andrew and, you know, all of you have had a big part in this. You know, and it's not been easy. So, you know, thank you all for all your all's work on this, and we'll keep moving forward. What's the update on West Main Street? The viaduct where Bluegrass is working.
Yeah, really some quick progress. The deck is gone, which is a real stunning thing. If you drive by there or just real slowly or get out and look, the deck is gone. So they could expose the viaduct to start the masonry work there. It looks like to me a lot of crews and equipment on the other side of the viaduct, the jail side of the viaduct. So they are hard at work. We've reviewed several different looks for the deck that is in the Royal Spring Park side, right there by the edge of the viaduct. And I think I'd mentioned to you all, it's going to be redesigned so that we'll expose some of the stonework from the viaduct and eliminate space under the deck for homeless folks to get in there. So I think, Devin, was it July we expected to see some conclusion there?
I believe that's right.
Yeah. That's kind of update.
Okay. All right, that'll do, and that's all I got. And so just thank you all for that.
All right, thank you, Todd. Connie. You're still muted. You're still muted.
You're muted, Connie.
Can you hear me now?
Now.
I'm sorry. I said I didn't want to sound like a broken record, is what I said. But I just wanted to thank you that I've gotten some phone calls and different things about the garbage pickup and stuff. And it was very self-explanatory to them, and also forwarded the website and the phone number for customer service totally that was going live today. And that was all last week, but everybody's done a great job. And, you know, I appreciate the communication. That's the key with doing this big thing that we're doing moving forward. And I'm looking forward to some other things that we're going to be working on and seeing what we're going to do to move Georgetown forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Let's see here, Greg.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, again, like Connie, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but, you know, thank you for your comments at the beginning of the meeting on the garbage collection. Devin and Andrew, I know you all have worked hard on it. I really appreciate that. You know, I did receive some calls, you know, with frustrations. And I think once you explain it to them, the situation, you know, they were good with it. But I think overwhelmingly, you know, the comments I'm hearing are very positive. And I think we've moved in the right direction, and I think we did the right thing. So, you know, I'm really looking forward. I think the next week or two is really gonna reap the benefits of our decision. So, again, Mayor, thank you, and thanks everyone else, and everyone have a happy Valentine's Day.
Hey, that's right. I appreciate you mentioning that, Greg. It is Valentine's Day, as well.
Yeah, my wife said if I don't get off here soon, that she's going to go and have her dinner without me. So
I know. Well, I will heed that warning. Thank you all for your response. You've all contributed. Each council member has contributed to hearing questions and helping citizens understand. This should have gone smoother, and we are committed to helping it get to where it should be. But it should have gone smoother, and I just have to to say that to the public. And we will do our best to get it there. With that said, thank you all, and we will stand adjourned.